Invite all our speakers onto the stage. We have with us the Site Lead Global Hub for Hyderabad and IT&D Director for Enterprise Products and Platforms Nutrition for Reckitt. We have Mr. Chakravarthy Aravapalli. Let's have a huge round of applause as I invite all of them on stage. Once again, welcome back on stage from Thoughtworks. We have with us Mujiruddin Shaikh, as well as the Director of Shared Services of Corteva Agriscience Services India Limited, Mr. Sandeep Mehta. And to moderate the session, we have with us Rahul Chowdhury, who's a partner at Deloitte India.
Good afternoon all. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Excellent. So I'm pretty excited to be here and pretty excited to be amidst such industry stalwarts. Now this is an interesting session. I think it's different from the ones which we've been having since morning. So this is where it will be more of what all of you think. We'll be discussing about that. We'll be talking about your views, and then I'll ask the panel members to either agree, disagree, or share their respective experiences. So this is one session where you will have to keep your phones out. We'll be using Menti quite a lot for this session. Quick introduction about myself. I'm Rahul, a partner with Deloitte. Have been in the GCC space for close to 2 decades now. And I think interestingly in the morning, Aditi was talking about the journey where we were the fingers and moved as limbs, and then the spine, and finally the mind. So I'm happy that I witnessed that for many organizations. Now, what we're going to do is, just for the energy of this group, we are going to start with a few questions around Hyderabad. I'll need the slide changer. Know your city. Which ruler founded the city of Hyderabad in 1591, and what was its original name? I don't know if you can see the answer below. It's Kali Qutub Shah, Aurangzeb, Asaf Jah, and Tipu Sultan. And I can tell you I had not shared these questions with the panel, so they are also seeing this for the first time. So interesting, I see most of you have got it right. It was Kali Qutub Shah, and I'm told that it was known as Bhagyanagar. The next one, the significance of the name Hyderabad, named after a local king, named after pearl, derived from Hyder, meaning lion in Persian, named after a local river or something else. I see 12 of you have already responded. I'm told Hyderabad is a city of pearls. I was expecting more answers which were saying named after pearls. Excellent. I think this audience clearly knows. So this is derived from Hyder, meaning lion in Persia. So the city of lions, yes. The last one, and then we'll talk some business as well. Golconda Fort, located in the outskirts, famous for an echo that can be heard from any point, clapping at the entrance to get. So I think clearly Hyderabad knows the city well. I think we had almost 90% correct answers for all of them. So let's talk about the topic what we have today. So we'll now move on to some discussion around technology and all what we've been discussing since morning. So I think we skipped this slide. Yep. So if this is for all of your audience, if you are the center head of a GCC and you have a fat wallet, so what would be your spend on technology? So this will include digital transformations. It will include, I think Rohan clarified, right? What is digital and what is technology. So this will include automation. This will include digital transformation, technology updates. So the answers are 10 to 25%, 25% to 50%, more than 50% or less than 10%. So while you're answering, I just did some lookup and benchmarking, what the industry does in general. So on an average, about 6 to 8% is the industry trend in terms of the percentage of their revenue which goes in technology. I looked up what is the total space around digital transformation for this year alone, and the expectation is about $3.46 trillion. So these are the numbers I was seeing. So maybe this is the time now I come to our panels. So maybe I'll ask the panels to introduce themselves and then say that which of the answers like what was relevant for their organizations. So Chakri, why don't we start with you?
So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all alert. So my name is Shaikh and I lead the Global Hub site for Reckitt at Hyderabad. So I would say this way, like say, yes, I wish I would have a fat wallet, and that's not the case. And we all have the same problem, I believe. And so the message is more around like say, how do we find the money, right? Like say, so we follow something very unique, which is save massively and reinvest in IT or tech transformation. So it is more about being smart in finding that money by productivity, efficiency gains, and all that. And that's how you find the wallet. So I would spend the money, but first we need to find the money. So, and finding the money is the biggest problem, and spending is quite easy. I would say that.
Right, but which answer did you select, Chakri? Like, was it
The
10 to
answer
20?
more than 50%, yes. The entire transformation needs money, whether it is people, whether it is technology. It does need a lot of money to invest, but the scarcity of money is the challenge for all of us.
Excellent. Hari?
Yeah, I think I would go with more than 50% because I think if we were to, my view on Gen AI and other new technologies that we talk about need investments into core systems. If we were to basically, we can't be doing Gen AI or modern technologies just as a sidebar and experimental projects. If we have to really scale them, we would need to spend a lot more time and money into investing into our core systems so that we can have an end-to-end workflow that will help the good things that come out of Gen AI percolate into the core of our business operations.
So Mujir, what you've heard from Chakri and Hari will be music to your ears, right? Like more than 50% being in the space of technology yourself.
Is the mic on? Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll quickly introduce myself too. I'm Mujir. I'm primarily a technologist. I'm the CTO for Thoughtworks Accelerate division for India and Middle East. Thoughtworks is a global technology firm. We are present in almost every continent, and we are very passionate about open source. So a lot of work that we do, we kind of try and open source on the framework side. I was myself a core committer for one of the open source electronic medical record called Bamni. But coming back to, yeah, that's definitely music to my ears, 50%, greater than 50%. Though I chose the answer more around 25 to 50, I think that sounds more realistic to me. And as you were mentioning, 6 to 8% is typical spend.
Of the total spend, of the total sales, right? Like, so if it was the cost, like you will be somewhere
Revenue.
in this 25, yeah?
Yeah. So I had chosen more around 25 to 50. It's very surprising a technology is choosing a lower number, but I was just trying to be more realistic.
Great. Sandeep.
Hi, I'm Sandeep Mehta and I represent Corteva Agriscience. I run the shared services for them, been doing that for the last 18 years now. And if I look at the number from a percentage of sales, my answer would be maybe 3-4% because our total R&D spend, being a science company, is only 8% of revenue. So tech obviously cannot be more than R&D, but I looked at it more from my cost budget and I put it around 10%. And why that? Because we have a large number of people, and if you start investing too much in technology from the word go, you create a lot of anxiety and the change management aspects. I would rather go slow, invest, get the gains out of it, and use that gains again to feed the budget. So kind of you spend money and then you earn out of that through productivity gains and then spend more.
Great. So we had a good diverse view. I think like we saw some conservatism. Chakri, you want to add something?
I would just definitely want to add to what was said by Sandeep. See, definitely from a net revenue standpoint, nobody wants to spend a ton of money that we would want to. It is definitely going to be at a top line, not more than 3%. The average industry is around less than 2% we spend on this tech. But that's where the whole thing is, that we call tech as an enabler, tech as a driver. But we see tech so far out, hey, we don't want to spend so much of money on tech. So that's where I don't get this paradigm, and it's very difficult to understand. We just want to spend so much money, little money, but we want to get so much maximum value out of it with just 2%. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to say. It's all about spending smartly and wisely. So whatever we get, we need to spend it wisely. That's it.
Right. So to summarize, I think like this group feels that yes, the wish list is to spend as much, but then I think like the guidance is that you need to get the fund, you need to build the ROIs for those spends, justify, and in fact, like just the statistics here, that while like I was just reading a NASSCOM report about 97% tech leaders felt that their organizations need to spend more, but they only got leadership buy-in of about 37%. So I think like this is pretty much the view what we get here as well. Quickly moving on to the next one. Which technological advancement is likely to have the most impact on GCCs in India? So please take your phones out again. This is a word cloud, so we'll see like what the themes are. I hope that the Menti is working. This time I only see 3 responses. I think last time there were about 50 odd responses. So as expected, we see a lot of answer around Gen AI, we see around automation, we see artificial intelligence again. There's a small section around RPA. Chakri, I think like when we were speaking, I think like you had mentioned that there are some interesting stuff you have been doing on RPA. You want to share with the audience here?
Yeah, of course. We did a lot of stuff around automation, and automation is all multifold, right? So I will just focus on business process automation, and that's where the value is. We have unlocked, like say, more than 100 plus use cases, but that's use case based. But it is the ecosystem that we need to build for automation, which means like say you need to have a fundamental understanding of your core business processes. And once you have your business processes established, and that's when you can actually start mining, and then you can actually try to build automation around it. The problem with what we have today is like say most of the companies, we just go ad hoc for everything. We don't really build the baseline and the framework around it. But we just say that, yeah, I'm smart, there's a smart group of people out there, there's a technology that is there, yes, we do a pilot. And then we slowly figure out like, say, hey, we'll do the scale later. And the pilot is just a pilot, and it will never really be the true business case. So I would say, yes, we can definitely get a lot out of automation, provided you actually build the framework with the business processes that you currently have, which is the baseline for actually unlocking the value out of automation. And there are many technology tools that can support it, but it's the key to know your business processes so well that you have a baseline to really look out for savings through automation. Most of it is all very, very, very small end user productivity saving of here and there, but not really substantial. And yes, we can say 30%. 30% of what? 30% of a user clicking a button, yes, but how does it translate into the value in terms of ROI or whatever you're saying is a big question.
Yeah, and so we've also, done several POCs around RPAs and, automation. And one of the challenges that we've always had is you have to have a very large number of people working on the same process, exactly the same. And that's why things like banks, which process credit card applications, where the form is absolutely the same, it works. But now in our case, like we try to do a manual journal voucher through an RPA, the requests come in very different formats. So to implement such a large technological change, it has to go right upstream. The user who's actually sending the request has to be trained. And that's where we see a lot of resistance. People just don't want to change. And because of that, a lot of such projects or POCs die down in that phase itself.
Very, very true. I agree.
So Hari, what was your answer?
I think just to add to what Chakri and Sandeep are saying about RPA, I mean, RPA is actually a duct tape, really, right? I mean, there's legacy, there is tech debt that we have. Some systems are ahead in the life cycle, some systems are behind. So we don't know whether we really want to fix all of them or have the money. So RPA becomes a quick tool for us, or a quick fix tool for us to do a lot of those automations and keep things going. There are 3 flaws that I personally kind of find in the approach, and this has got nothing to do with the technology as such, but the organizations and how we think about it. One is that what do we do with that freed time for the employees when we have taken that and said we're taking it from manual and converting it into an automation, right? So that's very hard justification down the line to basically say, how are we going to use those resources many times? Of course, you can theoretically say that we'll load them up with other things, there's other projects coming, etc. So that's one big thing. Second thing is, the duct tape itself comes off after some point of time. So because something has, underlying processes changed, underlying systems have changed, something has happened, and then we kind of move on and then take that duct tape off. So at some point I was building 20 automations a month, but we were taking 15 of them away because there was no need for that duct tape to be there. So those are a couple of things that we need to keep in mind, specifically when it comes to RPA.
So that's very interesting. So if you took off those 15, did you go back and hire new people to start those manual processes again, or what's the reaction?
No, I don't think you ever go back to hiring people. But I think the process itself changed. So there was a new system that was implemented that didn't need the reason for the duct tape. Or the process was, the ROI was not there. We were just basically having many virtual machines and infrastructure that was doing work that didn't need to be done. So bunch of things, regulation changes. Those are some of the things that would basically take them away.
Right, and then there were some more interesting answers. So there were some around quantum computing and what it can do, right? Like in terms of simulating scenarios, and especially like when we saw what happened in the pharma space. So we got some interesting answers here. Moving on to the next one, like this is more like a scale of maturity. In terms of tech-enabled transformation in the areas of finance, sales, marketing, R&D, engineering, the business operations and workforce and talent, what is the maturity of the GCCs you represent? So 1 being low and 5 being high. So if you can just maybe pull out your mentee again and then share like with us that for each of these functions within the organization, like where do you see the maturity of tech-enabled transformations? So I remember times like when I started working, most of the organizations in GCC like had 3 towers. Like they had the finance tower, they had the operations tower, and they had the technology tower. Very soon, like I think the technology tower disappeared, and it was not that like they were not spending on technology. Like it integrated with each of the other towers. So be it finance, be it operations, be it the risk function. Sandeep, let's start with you in terms of the finance organization. So I saw like you rated very high. So can you share like some?
So finance, I've rated it at 3 because we are using technology in a lot of areas. A lot of chatbots. We use some tools like Blackline, which help automate a lot of processes, including the month-end close process. There's a tool called Corteva, which is again, very cutting edge. But in our company, talking outside of finance, we are an agriculture company, very much focused on research and development. We do a lot of tech and AI in the R&D space. In terms of, I was talking to Rahul during the break, in terms of, gene editing, understanding the genomes of different plants, understanding diseases which occur at the plant level, and then even creating hybrid seeds. We are one of the largest producers of hybrid seeds in the world. And how can you combine traits from 2 different varietals to create a hybrid which is, say, pest resistant and things like that. So the company is spending resources in several areas, including in the legal space as well, in terms of doing secondary research and helping out our attorneys in terms of document discovery, etc., using AI tools for that as well.
Excellent. Mujir?
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the workforce and talent. I know it's rated the lowest, but one of the things that we've done is kind of, for an organization, created a higher tech platform. And again, it's a lot of Gen AI and AI usage over there. The idea there was, how can we reduce the cost to hire for an organization, as also to make sure that the recruiters are doing things which are more important. And for a recruiter, more important is to connect with the candidates, right? So how do they spend more time on that than, say, parsing your resume and trying to match it with the JD? And I think a lot of this is very, very eminently automatable with Gen AI. So what we ended up doing is parsing the resumes using a hosted model, using a GPT model to get some interesting criteria like your skills, location, and so on and so forth. Trying to find the nearest approximate match with the job description and creating a candidate list. So I think that kind of helped the recruiters not focus too much on the mundane work, but really get quick results, see what is the what are well qualified candidates, and spend more time talking to them than as opposed to doing the mundane. So I thought I'll just talk a little bit about that because it was rated the lowest. I see a fair bit of opportunity area in that thing.
Right. Hari?
Yeah, interesting. Actually, most of them are very close to each other. But to me, I think maturity, I just want to qualify the word maturity. I think it's the propensity to try more tech-enabled transformation. If that's the meaning of maturity, then I would say sales and marketing and business operations, right? So if you look at the propensity, most organizations, at least my organization, spends like a significant amount of money into trying to figure out new technologies, things that can actually drive better conversion, better walk-ins, better revenues. So I think there's like, and you don't need to explain anything about tech as long as you're trying to drive revenue. So that's where I think we get most of a high degree of propensity, and then business operations, because it's all about saving costs, right? If you look at those two are my big picks. I find it specifically challenging with workforce and talent because, the use of AI and other technologies, explainability is really low at this point of time. Hence, this opportunity is huge, but I don't think if I go and tell my HR guys that we can hire somebody in 48 hours if you were to use AI, and they'll just ask me to walk out of the room, right? So that's not going to happen so easily unless we have a really deep discussions around those, and finance as well. I think it's all about bookkeeping. There is a fair amount of governance, etc. So to me, it's sales and marketing and business operations.
Even the resumes may be created using AI. No, that's very interesting actually, Hari, because I've heard in some of the companies in the agriculture space, they've got applications which a farmer can click a picture of the plant, and it goes to the sales team or the R&D team, and they can actually diagnose it and tell him what pesticide to use and what is the issue with the plant.
Chakri? Yeah.
I'm a little surprised with the R&D engineering scoring high. Like say, I'm not sure, like say maybe a pharma company, definitely, maybe the audience more from pharma. It's very surprising to see a lot of tech there, but there's an area where there's definitely a concern where most of the organizations suffer in investing in R&D, especially through tech. So at least in our company in Reckitt, like so what we have seen is like say finance, sales and business operations predominantly have much more evolution in terms of tech adoption as well as transformation, but the R&D and the workforce are the two areas. So R&D is very difficult considering the kind of work that is being done. Like say it's very still nascent, very location specific, not really globalized, where you can say, hey, can you really find multiple sourcing vendors trying to integrate with your factory without really bringing all the way your sourcing raw materials into the factory and still leverage technology to qualify your product? Or can you do all those things is a big question mark, I would say. If you can do that, then I would say there is a lot of tech investment that's going in. Today, everything has to come into the lab physically, and then you qualify, quantify, and then say the certification of the product or innovation of the product. So there's a lot more needs to be done in R&D than today. That's how I see it.
So I think like if I have to summarize, I was expecting the finance maturity to be a little higher because I think like there is a lot of art of possible and a lot of technology transformations which have been identified and which are happening. I think you spoke about likes of Blacklines and Workivas, there is Anaplans and so many of them, Concords, etc. like which is pretty much there, and it's about implementing it. R&D engineering, like I think I was expecting this to be the highest, and I'm not surprised that it has got the highest maturity curve and score here. I think like Mujir, you said, right, like workforce and talent, this clearly like looks like the area like where you can have where there's the highest opportunity. And like I think if we reflect on all of the discussions which we've been having since morning, I think like there was a lot of focus on talent, and I think like in our world, like we used to call T&T as transformation and technology, but today I learned that it is talent and technology, right? So that clearly seems to be the opportunity in terms of organizations to embrace more. So now we'll come to AI, I think, and Gen AI. That has been something like which we had 2 specific sessions. I think even when the audience called out, that was the question. Like that was the most popular choice. But what is the reality, like in your respective organizations, in your respective GCCs? How mature do you see like is the usage of AI and Gen AI? While I think like you are inputting your answer, like I'll tell you like the most coolest use of AI and Gen AI like I have found, and this is beyond work. So I have a 6-year-old daughter, and one of the favorite pastime we have is to get like stories out of Gen AI. So whichever book I'm reading with my daughter, so if it is Harry Potter, then like we just now feed all the characters, like she wants to be in that story. So I add my daughter's name and all the characters, and now I think like the Gen AI is coming in, like because now it has learned like what my daughter likes and stuff like that, right? So whatever she has read, like whether it is Heidi or Enid Blyton or anything, so now I think like those stories which comes up is quite exceptional. So that is the use case I have found. We'll be happy to hear from this group. So clearly I see that, oops. Yeah, so Chakri, why don't we start with you?
So maybe I'll just focus a little bit on what is the opportunity that's there in more of tech transformation, program execution. Of course, the business use cases, many people would have talked. There's a lot of time that we spend in deploying solutions, and there is a lot of opportunity to actually see how we can actually execute much faster. It is all about, like, say, how we can get this much faster to the market, right? So in that sense, I'd say there's a lot of potential even for our regular day-to-day work that we do in meetings, program management, change management, and then even the tech code deployment, optimization of the tech code, and remediation. So a lot of use cases in a day-to-day tech development and general program execution. There's a lot of mundane activity that we continue to do. I think that can be replaced purely with AI and Gen AI capabilities. There's a lot of savings. And a recent program that we are doing, migrating from SAP S4 HANA RISE, we saw 30% savings in just adopting some of these AI capabilities in basic program execution. And if we're doubling up with program coding development and all, we would save a lot more. And we are trying to attempt to do that in code remediation with an SAP program we are trying to do right now.
So Hari, any of the use cases of Gen AI in your organization which you'd like to share?
Yeah, we are talking quite a bit, but I think when it comes to, we have one use case which I think is pretty interesting. One of the things is we are a quick service restaurant industry. So as you all know, quick service restaurant runs a lot on offers and promotions, and that's basically a big driver of, footfalls and revenue for us. And so one of the things that we are trying to do is personalized offers and personalized marketing and personalized emails to all of our, rewards members and people that are basically are regulars at one or more of our restaurants. So what we are trying to do is to personalize content, including images, text, even offers as to what is it that we want to basically send an offer to this individual for. So that's the current use case that we are implementing. I think initial results are very positive, but then we are not able to kind of accelerate through the entire business operation of, we can generate content, we can generate images, we can generate and identify what the offer should be, but it has to go through Salesforce and Epsilon and a bunch of other systems to eventually get through. So it actually defeats the purpose of having to be faster. I mean, time to market is essentially what really gets slow, not as fast as we would like. So that's where I talk about the core systems have to also work in consonance with Gen AI and those kind of tools.
So Mujir, quickly.
I'll quickly add. So I'll broadly categorize the usage I'm seeing in two buckets, right? One is where it is more value creation for customers, and I think that was the whole theme right from morning that we've been hearing, right? Right from, say, for retailers, for example, I'll take an example. A typical retail journey is very simple, right? You search for items, add to cart, buy, very standard set, Amazon set kind of a thing. for one of the grocers, what we also tried to do is like change that journey, rethink of it using GenAI. So in a way, if I can go ahead and talk about what I want to create, what I want to cook, it creates the recipe, and I can, if I like the recipe, it gives me some options. I can just go ahead and say, hey, you know what, I want to order for this for 5 people, and my cart is already like, you know, ready to be paid for and done, right?
Yeah.
So I think on the customer facing side, there's a fair bit of things, right, from your servicing the customers in the channels they work for, WhatsApp, WeChat, various others, to some of these cases where you integrate AI in the customer journey and rethink it, right? I think that's a very powerful thing to do rather than just thinking about chatbots, because if you can change the customer journeys leveraging this, I think that's a great thing. So that's one bucket. The other thing is, the other important part for all of us is the employees, right? So now how do I leverage GenAI for my employees? And I think that's what Chakri was referring to, like Salesforce, or most of the GCCs, we have a lot of legacy old code that we want to modernize. So I think GenAI is a great place where we can leverage it. Obviously, something needs to be built over there. So we build a specific tooling for, say, if you're doing like a COBOL modernization or a PL SQL modernization, because a lot of the older systems were built around with that, to kind of help explain what the code is. Because one of the big challenges in this thing is people would have written this code 15 years, 20 years down the line. Some of them have probably retired or are no longer in the organization. And it's very hard to understand what is happening, why things have been done that way. So I think tooling, GenAI will immensely help around with that. We've faced this thing where for certain modules, we were facing almost 6 weeks time. We were taking 6 weeks time to understand what's happening in it. And we could do it in a few days with some of this tooling. So I think how do we help our employees to do some of these things is an interesting thing. One question, sorry.
Go on.
One interesting challenge I had is like, I don't know if people who have been implementing it, one big friction I see is the whole responsible AI part of it, right? Because say even if you take any usage in say grocery now, how do you make sure some of the societal norms, dietary norms are taken care of, right? Or like in high-tech platform, as you were talking about, Hari, like, you know, how does it not have biases towards particular gender and section? So I think those are important criteria to think about. How do we make the AI responsible AI?
So Sandeep, final word from you, and then like we will wrap
Just
up our
yeah, quick
discussion.
word. So we've basically been implementing on both the sides, from the customer side as well. Vendors, we have chatbots which help vendors pull information even from SAP about their invoices, etc. And also on the employee side, we've deployed several chatbots on ServiceNow. That's the tool we use, which makes life very easy for the employees. So yeah, but it's a journey. I mean, it's an evolution that every organization has to go through.
Thank you to all the panel members, and thank you to the audience. I think it was good to see your views and mostly aligned with what the panel was thinking here. Thank you all, and look forward to see you throughout the day. Cheers.
Thank you so much once again to all our panelists.